The Man Whore Podcast is sponsored by HotMovies.com. Try out some ethical paid-for porn for free with none of those hidden fees or secret recurring subscriptions when you sign up at HotMovies.com and use the promo code MANWHORE. Now let's get to the show.
Welcome to the Man Whore Podcast.
What's up, you cuffing cucks, you snow sluts, you New Year's nudists? This is Billy Procida, and you're listening to the Man Whore Podcast. I'm feeling hyped, feeling excited. I did my pump up music before hitting the record button. What was it, you ask? Oh, Mother Lover. Just give me all the good old SNL music shorts. Big fan, yeah, with that gilf Susan Sarandon. Isn't it amazing that at her age she can still get it? What is she, 90? I'm still interested. Hi, everyone. I am your host, comedian Billy Procida. And if you're new to this program, this is a podcast that I've been doing for, almost 5 years. That started with the mission statement of talking to women I've hooked up with about sex, dating, and why we didn't work out. This week, we stayed true to that mission as we do part 2 with Chris from Tinder. Of course, we did part 1 last week. We talked a little bit more about her and I's history and how that played into where she was in a general arc of things. And I'll tell you some more about what this week's episode is going to cover in a little bit. But first, these are show dates you don't want to miss, people. If you follow me on social media, you have probably noticed a list of about 20 cities floated out there, kind of teased into the ether. Well, I am excited to finally announce that the Man Whore Podcast live show experience is going on the road. Yes, we're going to be doing something I like to call Tour de Man Whore. Yes, probably some kind of bicycle theme. I don't know. But what I do know is I'm hyped to take the show outside of New York City and do some more of these live experiences in front of an audience, which they have, I've only done 3, but they've been so fun and so raw and really very intimate. Some of my favorite episodes to have done, including that foregone episode that never got recorded. Shout out to the People's Improv Theater for messing that one up. So yeah, what are these 20 cities? Let's start with that. Where am I targeting in 2019? Well, keep your ears open in case you hear a city near you. I'm hoping to get to Atlanta, Los Angeles, Toronto, Austin, Bloomington, Indiana, Boston, Chicago, Dallas, Detroit, London, hey, London town, Memphis, Miami, Minneapolis, Philadelphia, Pittsburgh, Portland, the Yay Area, also known as San Francisco, Oakland, that whole bay, Vancouver, and Washington, D.C. Maybe we'll get slutty in the nation's capital. What makes this even cooler is that I teamed up with Brown Paper Tickets for an experimental ticketing model. We're going to try something kind of new and different. Here's how this works. On January 18th, tickets will go on sale. They will be pre-sale, discounted, non-refundable tickets. Okay, for all the American cities, they're $10. Okay, $10 pre-sale, discount tickets for a Man Whore Podcast live show. The catch is, you don't know what date the show is when you get the ticket. When one city reaches 20 pre-sale tickets sold, I will activate the city, I will book a venue, I will book a date, and then I will sell full price tickets for that date. And if your city does not reach that 20 ticket threshold by March 31st, then you get, anyone who did buy those tickets do get a refund for the face value of their ticket. So, it's only non-refundable if the city is going to happen. Now let's get these 2 obvious questions out of the way. Billy, what happens if I can't make the date once you announce it? Well, that's kind of part of the deal. But by buying a discounted ticket, you help ensure that I come to your city. Well, Billy, why wouldn't I just wait until a show is booked and there's a date, and then I'll buy the full price ticket? You're certainly welcome to do so. However, if we do not sell 20 pre-sale tickets by March 31st, I'm not coming to your city. It's kind of like someone's got to be first to the party type of thing. So that's how this will work. And what I'm really excited about with these live shows for the tour is that I'm really going to get to experiment and be creative with what the live show experience is, because, obviously, maybe not as obviously to some of you who think I do way better than I do, but I don't have exes and former hookups in every city in the country. So not every live show experience will have exes at them. Maybe we're doing a panel of experts. Maybe we're doing the fucking naked show version live. Who knows? There's so many things I can do, and it's going to depend on the city and such. So I'm really hyped for that. And yeah, so January 18th, everyone, next Friday. Not the Friday after next. That was not the best movie of the trilogy. Okay, next Friday. Tickets go on sale at manwhorepod.com/tour. Okay, manwhorepod.com/tour. Get your pre-sale discounted ticket. Get me to a city near you. I'll probably be announcing some ticket total updates here on the podcast and on the Brown Paper Ticket website, just to get y'all excited. Okay, let's get competitive about it. Which city is going to get activated first? Which one? Honestly, if I took a guess, if I just kind of took a random guess, I think it'll be either the Bay Area, Minneapolis, or Pittsburgh. Those are just my first guesses. Maybe we'll do something a little special for the first city that gets activated. If you want to know how I picked those cities, part of it had to do with email list signups. So if you skipped my call to action to sign up for the mailing list at manwhorepod.com, you don't really get to be mad about that. So, and if you have other questions, shoot me an email. There's also an FAQ section on every city's pre-sale ticket page. And hopefully those will answer them. So again, January 18th, manwhorepod.com/tour. All right. I just want to acknowledge, episode 246 happened a couple weeks ago with Rachel Green. I'm aware that the audio quality was not superb. And I just wanted to apologize for that. I know we had some radio interference. It was kind of a fluke, had to do with where she was and type of cables I had. And by the time I heard that there was an issue, it was kind of a little too late. It was the holidays. So, won't happen again because I bought some uber extra strength shielded cables. I want to get to an email of y'all's. Okay. I want to get to this email. It comes from Michelle. She writes, "Hi, Billy. At the beginning of the Rachel Green episode, you talked about your personal growth over the last 5 years. And I thought I would send you an email to tell you about mine. I'm 32. I'm married. I have 2 kids and I have a girlfriend. My husband, S, and I started dating when I was 18. We moved in when I was 19 and got married at 24. As in any relationship, there were things that bothered me, but no deal breakers. We almost broke up after 3 years, but hey, we stuck through it. As is the default, we were monogamous. S has always had general anxiety with bouts of depression, as well as having had somewhat of a rough childhood. Fast forward to about 3 years ago, our oldest, C, started having horrible night terrors, meltdowns, and screaming fits. They usually lasted about an hour, usually in the middle of the night. They happened almost every day for 4 months before we could get him in counseling. And it lasted another 3 months before they started to die down. I would cry and wish I had never had kids. I would eventually hit a breaking point every meltdown where I just couldn't function. And I'd ask S to intervene. He usually got frustrated after 5 minutes and locked himself away in our room. So at my wit's end, I would sit there with my screaming kid trying to manage. During this time, I was working all kinds of weird split shifts to try to make ends meet and make up for being short-staffed at work. S started working from home once we had our second kid. I would take both kids to work with me. All I asked of him was to make sure the kitchen was tidy enough so that I could make dinner every day. He did not. Once C had started counseling, the therapist suggested S and I come in for a joint session to give us coping strategies and check in with us both. I told S and he refused. He still refuses counseling even today. He stopped making the kids a priority, so I went by myself to counseling. I cried after 2 minutes. And I cried again. I continued to cry the whole hour. Apparently, I have boundary issues in that I let everyone step over my boundaries no matter how much I suffer. She told me I was allowed to say no, allowed to ask for help and to receive it. I'm allowed to fall apart. It literally changed my life. I'm a people pleaser to the core, and I am capable to a fault. Complicating things further, we opened up the marriage shortly after all of this. I forgot how much I missed women and how much I missed making out. My husband S doesn't really like kissing. The past year has been me constantly falling apart, trying to make things work, not wanting to upset S when his anxiety is bad, and then not wanting to say anything when he's feeling good. In April, I fully broke down and laid everything out. That I'm tired of seeing him break the hearts of my children by being so emotionally absent, not being there when he needs to be. And he said he would try to do better. He didn't. In July, I told him to leave. He refused. But he did get on meds and asked me to put a pin in it. For the first time in my life, I am saying no. I'm calling him on his shit, and he doesn't like it. I decided back in May, to let my walls down with this one girl I'd been hooking up with for about a year. We became official, so to speak, in July. I have pretty limited experience when it comes to dating and relationships, but god damn it, does she treat me well? I'm fucking blown away that I'm just so lucky. No longer do I hold in when I have a problem. I don't have sex I feel obligated to have or straight up don't want. I don't work myself into the ground and make myself sick. I've learned to say no. I've learned that I'm allowed to be happy and that I can always dig a little deeper and do what I have to do. I'm grateful to my friends who have let me ugly cry on them a lot in the last 2 years. They are my community, and my kids won't lack for a family. In the first month of the new year, I will be switching jobs and asking for a divorce. I wanted to thank you, Billy, for all that you do and making your life an open book for all to hear. Cheers, Michelle. Michelle, I gotta say, congratulations. Congratulations on, finding it in you to get the fuck away from this anxious loser. Yeah, you want to put your dick in raw in your early 20s and you pop out some kids, you got to be ready to be responsible for them. And this dude fucking was not. Does not seem like a good, responsible partner for you. And I'm glad not only have you, found someone who you're excited to be with, but, that you seem to have a community around you to help you through all this stuff and help you with these kids. So good on you because, from what I've heard, asking for the divorce is definitely one of the most difficult steps. I've seen how hard that can be. So, congratulations, kudos to you. And, keep living your best life, girl. Keep doing it. Keep making out. I want to keep making out. I want to take a moment to try to convince you to hashtag pay for your porn, or well, at least just a little bit of it, okay? Hey everyone, hotmovies.com, we all know it. I hope you love it. We all know I do. I just realized I only have 128 minutes remaining in my time bank. So, that's a little anxiety inducing. Oh my God, I only have 2 hours of awesome, ethical, high quality porn to watch. Shit, I need to re-up soon. But hotmovies.com is a pay per minute porn site that has just access to hundreds of thousands of videos of all different types and varieties. And what's different about hotmovies.com is you're not buying any sort of subscription. You buy a bulk of minutes when you're ready to. And whatever you're watching of a video gets deducted from your porn account. So now I'm just like, oh, what do I use these last 128 minutes for? So I'm checking out, what's popular on Hot Movies. Well, the top 6 ones listed here seem to be Mommy's Secret, Lesbian Psychodramas 31. A man came up with that title. There's no way a woman came up with that title. Twisted Family 3 Ways, Girl Core 2, which I've watched some of. I've not gone to watch the original. I'm going to have to go back. That's a little aggravating, by the way, when like a site like HBO has John Wick 2, but they don't have John Wick. And it's like, oh man, I heard such great things about John Wick 2, but I didn't watch John Wick. I need to go watch Keanu Reeves be a badass in the first one before I watch the sequel. Similarly, it's like, I got to watch Girl Core before I really sit down and appreciate Girl Core 2. What else is popular? We also got apparently Twisted Passions 26 and Seduced by My Best Friend. The poster of which is, of course, a woman fingering a very innocent looking redhead. So, yeah, hotmovies.com, everyone. And guess what? If you haven't heard already, you can get 20 free minutes on top of any package you purchase when you use promo code MANWHORE at checkout. And if you're not prepared to actually pay for your porn, you really want to test this site out, try the free trial that they do. Again, when you sign up at hotmovies.com for the free trial, use promo code MANWHORE to turn that 20-minute free trial into a 40-minute free trial. Think of all the 40 orgasms you can have with 40 free minutes. All right. Before we get to my guest this week, Chris from Tinder, as she is in my phone, it's time for the Fan Whore Appreciation Moment. All right. This is the part of the podcast where I like to give a shout out to some of the members of my Fan Whore community on Patreon. Patreon is a fantastic way to support indie content creators like myself, while also getting a ton of value with a membership. My memberships include access to private sex-positive discussion groups and exclusive access to bonus episodes of this show, as well as oh so much more. I mean, shit, this month I've actually just been offering 15 minutes on the phone to any patron. Just cause, I just throw out little surprise shits here and there. So, some of the members who are entitled to a phone call with me this month are Legion Lad. I did not realize that I had a superhero for a fan, but that's awesome. Can you save me from the trolls, please? Thank you so much for your support. I want to give a shout out to The Sex Rap. People seem to be using this portion to plug their podcasts, but you do you, boo-boo. The Sex Rap is a podcast run by a couple of sexologists who answer like all the questions you're a little too embarrassed to ask, your friends about dating and sexuality. I'm glad that they're supporting the Man Whore podcast. And lastly, I want to give a shout out to Jackie and Sean, the Modern Lifestylers. They're a couple of cuties up in the Great White North who I follow on Twitter. You can follow them too at Mod Lifestylers. If you like watching a swinger couple post their sexy pictures on Twitter. And you too can become a member for as little as $1 per month. I know a lot of people say, oh, I just want to wait until I can, pledge $5, $10, or $20 a month. And I'm like, no, come on in right now, $1 a month. Let's get you started with that. All you'd have to do is go to patreon.com/manwhorepodcast, sign up today, make a difference in my life, and enjoy all the wonderful perks of membership. One more time, that's Patreon, patreon.com/manwhorepodcast. And now for this week's guest, we're doing part 2 with Chris from Tinder. So last week we covered a little bit more of like her background, relationship history, and how I kind of fell into all of that. We started recording a bonus episode. Okay, that's why this conversation is actually a little shorter than our usual episodes, because normally we're doing 45 minutes to an hour. We were recording a bonus episode about her experience in sex work. And it was just so raw and real. Part of it is short because I'm not talking much in it. So some of you this might be your favorite episode. But I felt guilty not releasing this because it's just a story we really don't hear. And I thought it was a really, it's just something I really wanted everyone to hear. But while you listen to this, if you're like, oh, goddamn, this is good, just know that this is the type of quality of bonus episodes you hear on my Patreon. Okay. So yeah, this one can be triggering to some of y'all. So strap on in if that's what you need to do. But let's now listen to Chris tell the rest of her story about survival sex work. Like I said, this is more about, they're more into the rawness and honesty than like a rosy picture.
Okay.
I'm also
going to unbutton my top button because
It's not. Oh, it's fine. It's fine. Everything on me had gotten tight, sadly.
Okay.
No. I think that's a thing because like not every story about sex work is like a rosy red picture, and
Right.
there's a
But I
lot-
also don't want to like be like one of those people who gives like a cliche like it's so
yeah, but cliches become cliches because they
Are
sometimes
true,
happen.
yeah.
Like they're not necessarily like everyone's story, but there are some people's story. It's just the one that got latched onto, but it doesn't mean that like every I just saw like to a movie screening about like this sex worker in France, and I didn't know the movie was in French. Wouldn't have gone. I don't want to read.
You're so uncultured, Billy.
I'm very uncultured. I'm a very proper American kind of, and it was just so. And I remember it was a Q&A afterwards, and there was a little bit concern of like, well, she ends up like taking her own life at the end of the movie, and it's like, well, isn't this a whatever a bad visual representation of sex workers? But it's like this is a biographical.
Honest.
This is a true story. So that's
Yeah.
what happened, you know? And
Yeah.
I think it's not a fair pressure to someone who has had poor experiences to like demand them to be like quiet about it. So, you know,
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you, because I don't want to be fucking quiet about it. Yeah.
Yeah. So, I mean, when we met, I think you had like pretty much, I think you had finished whatever sex work you were doing
Yeah.
at the time. What were you up to before you quit?
So like why or like what? I don't know.
Well, let's start with like what were you doing? What type of sex work were you doing?
I was doing mainly like either dom work or sub work. So I was either doming other men or I was subbing for them. And this is like, I wasn't in dungeons or anything like that. It wasn't like acceptable. It was like very off color, like you know, like fucking without a condom and shit like that.
Oh, you were doing that too.
Yeah.
Okay. But you were doing these just at the parties, or you're doing privates? Or?
The private was like fucking without a condom. There was like, I think like 2 or 3 guys that I would do it without a condom with. And, I have been tested. I'm fine. Everything's okay. But, yeah, and I remember like when I first got started, sorry, what are you asking me?
No, go where you were going.
Okay. Yeah, like when I first got started, there was this like really old dude who I was a sub for, who like kind of put me in touch with a bunch of other people, and he was the one who like I let him like fuck me bareback. But he was like, it was kind of strange because he was like such a sweet personality. Outside of that, he would show me pictures of like flowers that he had taken, and he was
What was
always
the thought
like,
process? Like, this sweet old man doesn't have
yeah, and he
gonorrhea?
was like, I don't know. I was also
Gotta
very
laugh at
young.
her.
I think I was about to turn 18.
Yeah. Oh, so you had been doing stuff for a while.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. And I just like, I was like kind of poor and my parents were like not really helping me. So I was like, you know, path of least resistance. And you know, in my mind, I'm like, well, he'll probably fuck me more, or he'll probably pay me more if I let him do this or that, you know, like with a condom or without a condom. And
So in the beginning of your
if I-
career, you were barebacking.
yeah. I mean, like throughout, but like it was only with like 3 people specifically.
Gotcha.
And this guy, because and that's like, it was usually when I was at like my most desperate, and then like after we had done that, I didn't see any point in not doing it anymore because I was young and stupid. And yeah, that was like, I just like, it's really strange. Like growing up, I remember like reading books about sort of like, you know, with my girlfriend, we would like giggle and like get like really horny over these like sex romance novels, and like the men would be so harsh to the women, and like they would do all these like mean bad things to them, and they would like get us all wet in our panties, and then like experiencing that was like very different. And it was like a real
what?
experiencing like actually being in a BDSM situation or like a dom sub situation was a lot different. It was like emotionally jarring, and because like I was so young, and like, you know, I definitely like romanticized the fuck out of it and did not really know what to expect, and probably got into it for the wrong reasons. And when I did it, I felt pretty bad afterwards. I called my friend who afterwards was just like, I don't care. Like, I think she was also like young and immature and didn't really know how to process the information.
This is
that I was
after your
giving her.
first time doing sex work?
Yeah.
Okay.
Like, and like, it was like sub work and it was like
Yeah.
pretty brutal. Like, I was pretty fucked up afterwards, you know? And I left the place and I called a friend and I was just like, I need someone to help me. And she was just like, oh, what do I want to do? I'm in the Bronx. Like, my parents won't let me leave my house.
What kind of help? Like just like some basic aftercare or what?
Yeah, like I just need someone to fucking come get me. Like I need fucking water. I need someone to fucking hold my hand.
Yeah.
You know? And you know, and I yeah, it was just like really weird. I just like kept doing it and cuz like the money was good and I started through him I met this other guy who was like much younger but a little bit more brutal. Oh no, wait, I forgot. So the guy who actually sold me my fake ID was he was the guy who introduced me into the parties.
Okay.
Yeah, so I met him through a friend in the Bronx who was like, yeah, I know this guy who can get us fake IDs, and he like kind of hit on me and was like, how can I take you out? And he took me out to dinner and we talked, and I had already been doing work with these other two guys, like one that I met from the other. And he was like, oh, I know this party that we can go to, blah, blah, blah. So he took me to a sex club. It was like really shitty and gross. And I felt like super uncomfortable because I was just like getting off my period. And he got me like super drunk. I think I was like 18. And he paid off the bouncer to let me in because I didn't have ID. Like a real ID. Like my ID was obviously fake. So yeah, it was just like a bunch of old people and like some of them are like clearly like really hot like prostitutes, and I'm just like, you know, I think my appeal was not that I'm like super hot, but I was super young, you know, to these people. Like it wasn't like, oh, she's like 5'10" and
She's daughter aged.
yeah. I was just like, I was kind of like lumpy and pale and like, I'm a little girl. Oh, I don't know what I'm doing. I'm just trying to make money. And I just like, I was
epitome of
so...
sex appeal was that act out, by the way.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, so hard right now.
Oh my God. I can't see without my glasses.
Can you do that voice when we have the threesome, please?
Yeah.
Thanks.
I'm gonna come. And yeah, and I went to this party and I fucking hated it, and there's just a bunch of fucking sluts sucking on this guy's knob, and
Is it pretty much just all like escorts and then old
yeah,
dudes? Or rich guys?
yeah. And I don't even know how fucking like plain Jane me landed up there, but I did. And then I went to this other party with this guy that was like 10 times more extreme, where people had to pay like $200 to get in. And the guy's name was Saul, and I think he was like impotent, like he couldn't even come, but his thing was just like beating on women. And I became one of those women. And I remember like it was like this huge spread of like food and everything, and it was like in a beautiful loft in Chelsea, and like skylight, and just like beautiful people everywhere. And I'm like, I don't even know why the fuck I'm here, because the reason I'm here is because I'll fucking let people like lay into me, you know, and I'll accept that kind of abuse and behavior. So he put me through it. And
what's putting you through it look like?
Like I was bleeding in between my legs for like weeks, like because like in my thighs.
Okay.
Yeah, like I got cropped in the middle and on the inside of my thighs, and it was rough because like it scabbed over and just like kept like peeling and stuff like that afterwards. And there was like anal penetration, even though I wasn't like really down with it, so it was like kind of raped. Yeah, and it was like, you know, and like my nipples were like super sore, and like, you know, I still have like some stuff from it on my body, like that I don't like really like to share. And yeah, that like really fucking sucked. And yeah, and I did that for some time, those parties. And then I saw this other guy that I had met through the first guy, who was like kind of chill. Like he would be like, we would fuck and he would beat me up, and then we would like have like sushi and stuff, and I would play with his dog.
Okay.
Yeah.
Why? And I don't ask this like in relation to like the hierarchy, like one's worse or something than another, but sounds like you were pro subbing, which is a very specific type of sex work that I view at least as like a beyond varsity level sex work, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
So so when I say why not only, I don't say that as in like what you were doing was worse. I mean as in it was an expert level, to, in my opinion at least, type of sex work and you were fresh and 18. So why when you're 18 not escort?
Well, I had also like gotten
just...
kicked out of my house, so
Gotcha.
I like really needed money.
Sure, but like I'm just asking, like what was the thought like, to go from like just escorting to like pro subbing?
What do you mean? Like I think it was like that was beyond me. Like I didn't even like realize.
Just like the first couple people you had clients happen to want this, and then
and I was just like, this is what it
I
is.
do.
Yeah, like I was not aware of like this world of like escorting or like pro subbing or whatever the fuck that is. I still don't even know what that is.
Did you know that you could set your own limits and say like, well, we can do this and that, but like we're not doing that?
Well, I think during the parties,
like,
I just felt so much pressure, and I felt like so, like there's like so many people looking at you that I felt sort of like I was so embarrassed that I would be even more embarrassed to say no, like stop doing this, I was like, it just like felt like some sort of like weird pride, dignity thing, and I think that was like really like all I had, and it's like when I was like younger, oh man. Geez, I used to like cut myself and stuff like that, and I used to like really like nurture the scars and like be like really nice to them, and like so I think that was like an extension of that,
like an extension of self-harm.
Yeah,
self-harm through sex work.
Yeah,
not of course. I hate that I have to even say this. Not that all sex work is self-harm.
No, of course I am not trying to say that. This is like sort of like why I was like reluctant to even talk about this because I don't want to like.
You're fine. You're.
I know
fine.
some people get so much pure joy.
Yeah.
From subbing and like experiencing
you are so
things.
fine.
Yeah.
I was saying it one time, so I have said it, so it's not a thing that gets brought up. I don't get like an email.
Gotcha.
You're fine. You're fantastic. Your truth. Fuck anyone who says it's not what it is. So not that like sex work is self-harm, but the way in which you were doing it was self-harm.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
what I was doing was self-harm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Let someone else leave the scars instead of you.
Right. Which like kind of felt like, I just like thought it was like cool. Like I thought it was like cool to like do this. I was like, I'm such a badass. I fucking put myself through this. And then like, I obviously still felt really shitty, but part of me was like, this is cool.
You also have like all this money out of nowhere.
And like, it just like, it gave me something to like secretly hold against people that like cut in front of me in line, like, oh, they can't go through what I go through.
Yeah.
Kind of thing, which is complete bullshit.
Of course. Yeah. Do you still have that attitude when you do BDSM scenes with more dominant partners?
What do you mean, like right now?
Do you still have that like sense of pride? I mean, it sounds like what we talked about before.
No, are you kidding me? I'm such a fucking like. I mean, now I'm a pussy. Like I'm like, no, bitch, I'm on top. You ain't gonna fucking touch me.
It's so interesting because like back then you were very big on like I am way more submissive.
No,
back when we like were talking.
No,
like you pushed me on the first time we fucked. Like you pushed me on the bed. And I was like, this is hot. Because I lean more submissive than anything. But at the time, you were very vocal about how, like, oh, yeah, I can switch, but I'm really more of a submissive. And that was like what
I think honestly, I think it's like a confidence thing because I just didn't have the confidence to like lean into myself and like be me and like be like, this is what I want.
Yeah.
I want dick.
Well, how'd you come to stop doing sex work?
I came to stop doing it. So like as I was getting kicked out of my house, I just like I couldn't be in the city anymore, which is like really where it was happening, and like I had to leave. I lived on Long Island for a period of time, which also really sucked. And that's it. I came back from Long Island and I continued it up again briefly for like I think like a few months, and then that's when I met Bob of Jay and Silent Bob, and then he was a misogynist piece of shit.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
and was like, "You can't cheat on her body, and that was that.
So it was really more him getting you to stop doing it than you?
Yeah. And I like that's
Man,
why
misogyny
that's
saving
why
the day just
hold
this
up.
one time.
No, for real. No, but that's what I'm saying. And that's why I gave him so much leeway and like because I viewed him as my savior because like I was like, how can I let go of you? Like you fucking saved my life. Like if I had been on the path that I was on, like I could end up in a fucking dead in a ditch somewhere kind of thing.
Especially
and
with the type of clients
he took me in with like no questions asked. Like he let me live with him. He like fucking fed me, took care of me, like paid for me, like helped me, you know? And like he had his own issues. Like he had also been homeless and like so we like really bonded hardcore on that. And like I kind of felt like I was like abandoning him when I broke up with him. Even though he was like such an abusive piece of shit. And I was like, I did not know how to emotionally deal with that.
Where in what context do you feel like you've seen your most abuse within pro subbing or outside?
So within pro subbing, it was definitely this guy that just like, he really loved to like, he would tease the pain out of you. Like that's like the worst. I mean, there's just some people who are like barbaric and will just like, you know, go. But after a certain point, your body kind of like shuts down and you can't feel anything anymore, which is like a grace. But like he knew how to prevent that from happening. So you would really feel everything.
Which is even more the reason why, like, I mean, did you ever end up realizing, oh, like, if this type of work I do, I need a person who is my aftercare person because my client's not going to do that. So like, okay,
no, I had no
I
concept of that. No,
you just thought like, this is how I feel after doing this.
yeah, I would take a cab home and I would just like lay in bed and at home in the Bronx. And, like, you know, my sister, I shared a room with my sister, and if I was on like good terms with my parents, I would go home and just share a bed with my sister.
Because a pro sub, like, it's more than like your typical John who just like might get a little rough or whatever, want to spank you a little extra hard. Like someone who hires a pro sub is like very specifically looking for someone they can take their sadism out on. Yeah. Which is like fine in a consensual like situation where people are
yeah. So
like I said, that's why I refer to this as like such a varsity level of sex work that you were in at 18 and not even realizing that's what you were doing. Right. Because it's like most sex workers do not let clients do that for some of these reasons.
Well, I was extremely like naive and you know, like I had no fucking concept. I had no backbone. I mean, not that I had no backbone. I just didn't know. I was so young. I hadn't found my voice. Like I didn't know how to say no.
Were you reading like other sex workers like on the internet or anything like that?
No.
Do you now?
I think I did for a period of time after I did sex work, just to like as like a healing thing.
Was kind of part of you ever like, wait, what? Like I had this agency
every fucking day. Are you kidding me? Yeah. Every fucking day, like not every day, but you know, sometimes I'll just like be walking down the street thinking about it, and like I am so grateful that nothing ever happened to me because there were so many opportunities that people just could not have cared, you know, and like I was in very vulnerable positions and I didn't speak up for myself. Yeah.
How did you not just adopt this like an anti-sex worker stance with your type?
I did for some time.
Yeah.
Oh, I totally did. I remember the guy that I was dating was also like anti-sex worker, like, but he was also anti-woman, and
but he also probably hired sex workers. It's just gonna be my guess on the side.
I don't think so.
No?
I highly doubt it. Yeah, okay. Yeah, I'm pretty confident that that's a no. But I think I thought for some time that I was like, no, like people who do sex work are people who are like me. Right. You know, like that's the only experience that I had with it. So I'm like, they're like me. They're not really in their right mind, or they can't receive pleasure from this, or they can't receive joy from this. And this is only going to deteriorate them emotionally. Like this is going to deteriorate their soul, like it did for me. Like that's the only perspective that I saw was my own. And I think it just like got older and I was like, that's not the case, you know? Honestly, also shout out to James, my fucking boyfriend. Because I am going through a fucking sexual renaissance right now with this motherfucker, okay? I did not know I could have like, honestly, this is like the best sex I've ever had in my entire life. And I did not expect that at this age. And I'm like, I don't know. I just like sex and like, just like going through life and like my experience with my life and like my sexuality had always been such a chore, and like I never really like knew how to request pleasure from it, you know? So I feel that now. I'm like, yeah, I would suck a dick for some money. I like sucking dick and I like money.
So you would do...
I would do it again, except for the fact that my like boyfriend is like not about it, which I totally respect and appreciate. Like that's a boundary that we have, and I
Of course.
put our relationship so much higher on the scale than my desire to do these other things.
This seems like your first like real healthy
yeah,
relationship.
yeah, for sure.
That's great.
Yeah,
That's fantastic.
Yeah.
I can sleep better knowing it wasn't me now. Just to make this about me for a minute, everybody.
I mean, it
felt
is.
like this got a little too much about you with your beautiful story of survival. It's like, what about Billy? No, no. I mean, thank you for sharing that, and you know, like I said, I'm happy to hear that things.
Thanks for letting me share it. I'm sorry it got so heavy.
Nonsense, please. We had a couple months ago.
Yeah.
We had someone talking about how she was trying to kill herself, and then came back from it all. So
Yeah.
it's fine. It's only not fine if it's not real, and then I'd say you're a great actress. You should quit that other profession of yours.
Maybe I'll make Maxim Hot 100.
Maybe.
Yeah.
I could see it. I could try to stretch, but I feel like that's just a really nice place to kind of leave off on.
Cool.
So, Chris, thanks again, and why don't you say goodbye to everyone one more time.
Bye. Bye. Bye.
Oh, that was just so good. That's one of those episodes I leave the apartment being like, oh man, I connected with a human. Then I run back to Bushwick and smoke some weed so I don't have to connect with anyone anymore. I hope you enjoyed this episode, everybody. If you did, share this podcast on the social media, rate, review, and subscribe on iTunes if you can. Help me spread the word about this show so more people can hear it. You can like the Man Whore Podcast Facebook fan page. Just search Man Whore Podcast. Or you can follow me on Twitter at @TheBillyPresida. And my Instagram still down. Still working on it. We're going to see what we can do. If you want to send me your comments, your questions, your booby pictures, you can email that to manwhorepod@gmail.com. We got merch, people. Did you know we have merch? We got shirts, we got panties, we got buttons, stickers, and there's going to be more as the year moves forward. You're going to want to go get yours today by going to gumroad.com/manwhorepodcast. I love seeing my fan whores in their man whore gear. I love it when people are tweeting at me like them with their button or them wearing, bent over wearing the Stay Slutty panties. It's pretty fucking fun. Last but certainly not least, the best way to support me and to get more man whore in your life is to become a member of my Patreon community. You get access to private sex positive discussion groups, access to exclusive Man Whore Podcast bonus episodes, which this episode with Chris was supposed to be, as well as oh so much more. Head on over to patreon.com/manwhorepodcast. Once again, become a member at Patreon, patreon.com/manwhorepodcast. Next week, oh God, such a good episode. Next week, we've got Holly Randall, who's an acclaimed porn director. She's fantastic. I'll tell you why she's so fantastic next week, but you're not going to want to miss that one. Once again, January 18th, Tour de Man Whore tickets on sale. Get excited for that episode. Maybe go watch some of her work over at hotmovies.com and stay slutty.